Hearing none. Item 4, consideration and possible action on approving minutes for January 30, 2023.
I'll move to approve as read.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Item 5, consideration and possible action on plat of Bison Farms located in a part of the southwest quarter of 2216 North 1 East. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Be better.
Just gonna look at the verbiage.
How many homes you got in this?
Subdivision street will be maintained by the Property Owners Association and will not be maintained by the county.
17.
I make a motion that we approve that.
I'll second motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. You already got them all sold, or?
Working on it.
Dr. Simpson.
Well, good luck with it, young man. Hope you get them all sold.
Yeah, I think someone said that they're working on Luther Road, maybe putting some gravel on it or something.
Yes, we just approved we just got a grant. We're gonna do the first 3 miles heading south of 105.
Oh, nice. We always seek donations, but if anyone wants to donate, pay it.
Put a little around the entrance.
Yeah.
All right, off to the clerk's office.
Good luck. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Have a good day. Item 6, discussion with Randy Robinson, OCCEDB, Chris Grover, ACO, and representative from ODOT regarding types of road and bridge funding that might be available to Logan County.
Thanks for inviting us. I'll open real quick because we all know Randy's the man with a plan when it comes to transportation. But so thanks for having us out here. Good to be back in Logan County. I'm just kidding. But as we know, transportation is changing. We had a workshop at our conference last summer about the future of transportation, how it's going to be funded. That's going to have to change. As we all know, the gas tax is based off gallons sold, and that's kind of flattened out because cars are so fuel efficient. There's other kinds of electric or whatever now. So, but there are a lot of other pots of money. It's gotten I don't know if it's more complicated, but we've had a lot of ARPA money come down. Not only counties, you look at tribes getting that, cities. The legislature set up some new funds for smaller cities. So more than anything, at this point, it's kind of knowing how to work with other people, because a lot of stuff is so expensive that it's just a lot better if we can partner with different groups and entities, and there are ways to do that. And luckily, that's why we have Randy, and he's kind of the county transportation guru in the state, and so he's going to kind of lay out that stuff for you today, give you some stats, and hopefully answer some of the questions you had for us.
Well, Randy, what caught my eye, the reason I reached out to you was I seen the federal funding that the non-CED members, there was I don't remember the dollar amount, I don't have my paper with me, but a couple $100,000. I didn't know what we had to do. I think Cody might have a bridge that might be close to shovel ready.
Well, if I could, let me go through that real quick for you. And these are your maps. These are ODOT maps that came out in December. Mark got them, all the new commissioners did. It's, of course, the new commissioner boundaries are located. It's somewhat similar to the one behind you. And then it locates all of your bridges with the 5-digit NBI number or the local ID number is on there. And again, what some commissioners use it to mount it at their shop, put plexiglass over the top of it. And so those are new, like I said, as of December. Then also, if you want, this flash drive has about 53 files on it. We had, again, the new commissioners training that occurred. So what we'll have in front of you will also be on that flash drive, but more stuff, more detailed information. So if I could I was going to briefly go over, and then on the left-hand side of your packet, we put together what we could kind of brainstorm all the different funding sources. So and part of it's going to be talking about federal funds, but the way we organize it is who provides the oversight. And then whether it's state funds or federal funds. So this document here starts out with ODOT. And there's state funding sources. Everything that deals with transportation is what this document has. So there's state funding sources, and then we'll get into federal, but County Equipment Revolving Fund, you guys have used that before. Lake and Industrial Access Funding, that's a good program that's money only. So there's no set plan you have to acquire. So if you're providing access to a boat ramp, or you have an industry coming in that's adding jobs, that's a great program. A new one there under 3, and I know that I believe, look here, my notes, Crescent did receive this. It's on the commission today. Some funding under this, so it's a program. Cities under 15,000. It's about $5 million of state funds a year, and if a city community can show that they've had some oil field damage, the trucks, and so there's an application. 16 cities that I applied under the REAP and got REAP money, but I don't know if they applied under. I just know that they weren't part of the 16 that got funded or will get funded at the commission meeting today.
I gave them. Yes.
Okay, so that's a win-win, a great PR
Right.
for you guys, and they can make their money go further. So brand new program, like you said, 25 match is kind of required. Under 4 is a SERB program. You only have, I think, Luther Road. I would say the south and head to either if I've worked in Oklahoma City area or downtown. So county look at that, and I believe it's in the 5-year plan still to do Waterloo. We're not motivated, and that commission wasn't motivated right-of-way utilities, and it would kind of die on the vine. So that sounds a good thing. It's going to be changing. But we really need to work on getting more of your projects in the plan, because we'll talk about some other things, grants and everything else is kind of tied to that. So top of page 2, that's your question. We're getting into federal funds. The Surface Transportation Block Program, that's allocated directly to ODOT. There's money available for roads and bridges. You as a county get about $300,000 a year in federal funds. It's a use or lose it. So you have to have projects authorized between October 1st and September 30th. So projects have to be out the door to be authorized, or the money goes to another area, another county. And we've been fortunate not to ever turn money back to the state.
So do them projects have to be shovel ready to get them on the book?
Correct. You need to, in most cases, counties put their projects in the SERB plan, because this funding is only up to 80% match. You have to have in kind 20%. In construction, you still have to pay for right-of-way, utilities, engineering, and most counties use SERB funding to make that happen. Now, there are some counties, wealthy counties, Oklahoma County, they use their CBRI money to pay for engineering, and that's why they can kind of get ahead of the game, because they can go ahead and get engineering done and have it kind of shovel ready to get any additional federal funds. So anything rehab, replacement is in here, but we need to get some bridge projects in the SERB plan, unless you're using other funding sources.
Yeah. Well, you know, I did a program resolution on, I believe the circle number is 191 maybe, but I don't know how come I never got my JP number back.
I can't answer, that's an ODOT question.
I guess I'll call Melissa.
So you get approximately about $238,000 in federal funds for bridges and about another $75,000 for roads. You know, if I was sitting in your place, I probably would not look at doing roads maybe and focus doing just my overlays, because roads, you gotta get the right, you know, you have, especially in your area, it's so much traffic. It generates, when we do engineering standards, it generates, I mean, 4-lane roads, turning lanes. I mean, you're basically almost doing city streets in Oklahoma City and Logan County roads just because of the traffic count. So in my idea, overlays, cheaper, quicker, in and out. If you prepare the base correctly and you have a good maintenance, crack sealing, pothole patching, fog sealing, to back it up to make your investment last longer. But that's just my opinion. Safety bridge inspection, you have CEC and Burns and Nyepel do your inspection. That's 100% of that is funded through federal funds. Part of this STBG funding funds all that. It used to be counties had to pay 20% of that, no longer, which is a good thing. You look at the top of page 3, something that could affect, it's a new program. It's about $53 million come to the state of Oklahoma under the new federal highway bill. About $15 million of that is going to be used for bridges on the off system for scour. So I know you don't have that many boxes per se. You have a lot of spans, but boxes are very susceptible. You know, if you're in Lincoln County, you have very erosive soils here, even in Logan County. So ODOT is taking and looking at this program right now. It's, like I said, $15 million a year for the next 5 years. They're looking at about 600 sites statewide that have a scour-only issue and trying to correct and make these non-deficient structures. So the structure might be totally fine in other areas, the deck, the beams, the abutments, but it's scour that's happening. And that they can go in and do a very quick fix, inexpensive. There's about, like I said, 600 sites that they're looking at right now. We don't know where they're at.
One is in Logan.
They did. Every county has at least one. And
At one time I seen a list and we had 3 or 4 on there, but they might just select one, I don't know.
I don't know that. We don't know the details. I know they need to go out and start looking at these and putting together some expensive type of things, maybe just riprap, maybe if you got a box and an apron, extend the curtain wall down, toe wall down. I know we have some structures there near my house in the city of Edmond, a lot of erosion going, as you know, on the downstream side of a box or pipe. And so, but that funding, 100%, county doesn't have to do anything. So that's
They're
a
gonna let the
win-win.
contracts and all on that.
Pardon me?
They'll handle the contract.
Correct.
and all.
They'll have on-demand contracts already that they're hoping that they'll only have to, a very minimal set of plans, if anything. So again, counties don't have to do anything. ER funding in emergencies, and then they're under 6, you know, we have earmarks. That's something you might want to consider possibly, granted whether you like them or not. I know we had Love County got an earmark of about $4 million for their SERP projects on Oswald Road. Congressman Cole got that approved. And so that's just something to think about. If you have a project that's in the plan, that is possible. And then there's all sorts of grants and things that we'll be dealing with at the statewide CD board. And down at the bottom of page 3, you see the ETR funding. I don't know when this is the last time that's a loan. You have to pay it back, but it helps with your cash flow. Top of page 4, the CED revolving fund. Of course, you're not part of a CED right now, so that funding helps material requests. You remember that, Monty and Mark,
Yeah.
both. And then the solid waste program. You have been involved in that. I think a couple of districts. It's a win-win situation. We get about $655,000 from DEQ each year. DEQ has other programs you need to be aware of, has more funding associated with them. They have a website, but if you, again, that's on my flash drive, that website. So that's something to really take a look at. There's counties that have partnered both funding sources to take care of some solid waste issues, illegal dumps, and so forth. Directly oversight by counties, you know this, the CBRI fund, about $35 million last year. Gross production tax on oil is doing really well right now. You've probably seen it in your accounts. That has jumped up. Your county highway fund, of course, and the formulas. Oversight by tribes. We'll talk about the Iowa tribe here on page 5 here a little bit later. And then hopefully we don't have emergencies. FEMA. Sub-state planning districts, you guys are using GREEP. You're well aware of that. CDBG grants, other grants, and then NRCS does have funding out there for where you have a river or a creek coming in at a bad angle at a road that they could help with that. So very quickly, that's it. The single sheet, I kind of put together Logan County stats. There you have over 1,200 miles of road, about $3,878 dollars per mile per year is what Logan County received last year. And you're about ranking 36th, one being the poorest, Tillman County being the poorest per mile. So you're kind of in the middle of the pack. Looking at bridges, you have about 199 bridges. It is interesting to note, about 5 years ago, you had 216. So what had happened there was, it didn't mean that those bridges got fixed. Those sites, FHWA required the counties, there was about 350, 60 bridges or sites taken off the NBI because the counties hadn't built a bridge link structure there. So in most cases, those are where you yanked out a bridge and put in a tank. And so it wasn't 20 foot or longer. So there's still maybe a problem for you, but they're off the NBI list. Average age of bridge, 50. You have one that's 105 years old. The other stat there, you're 4th in the most deficient bridges in the state, as far as counties go, with about 30% of your bridges being deficient, about 60 of them. Funding opportunities. There's the dollar amounts that you have in federal funds each year, from October to September 30th. Looking at ACOG money, again, the two major COGs, ACOG and NCOG, get a direct apportionment in federal funds. In District 1 and 2, I just roughly counted, you have 16 deficient bridges sitting out there in ACOG transportation management area. Again, I know there's different stipulations and things, but if they're not spending their funds, it's always nice to have something shovel ready to slip in and get federal funding. Another area you need to look at is small cities, STP federal funds. I know Langston and Cole has some bridges that you need to look at. That's through local government division. They were trying to find some sites where they could spend the money at. So there's $10+ million roughly a year available in federal funds for small city bridges, but they're your bridges that you maintain. And then getting down that other bullet point, the tribes. We have 38 recognized tribes in this state. There is a lot of money through the new federal highway bill for tribal grants. Not only additional tribal funding allocated to them, but tribal grants where they just have to apply. And east of Indian Meridian, there's at least 14 division bridges. Now, not all of them might be on their system. Not every county road, not every state road is on their system. But that's something that I think you need to take action and visit with them about to see what you can partner with, and they just have to apply. I was at a tribal meeting about 9 months ago, and they were asking tribes to send something in because they were getting funding on them just almost automatically. And then lastly, they're under federal, if you're a CED member, you can leverage that $238,000 and $78,000. If you had a project ready, the whole idea in the CED is not to turn money back to the state. So what happens if a county doesn't have a project ready for federal funds that you can leverage or move money around between the other counties in your district to help with your cost sharing on those projects. Any questions about the federal or the stats above?
Now, if we've let that federal number fall off, is there a way to get it back on?
Well, if you don't use the money, it's used someplace else on the county system. There's no guarantees that you because you lost it, you'll get that and more. That's a discussion you would need to have within your CED. But right now, you don't have that leverage power. So there's no guarantees with that because you don't have anything. That's why you need to get something on the books
So
as far as bridges.
The bridge you got out there, Cody, is the one I was thinking about.
77.
Is it close to shovel ready?
Yeah, the only thing that we've discussed so far is right of way on the north side of that, but
Is that in the CERT plan? I do not see that in the
It
CERT
has a
plan.
JP number, but it's not on the priority list.
I did not see it in the 5-year plan. So
No.
What were you going to use for match?
well, I mean, we're still trying to figure that out because I mean we had a JP number. It was already being the engineering work was already being done on it, and we were just
Because there's some stipulations in using federal funds. You have to acquire right-of-way, a certain method, and so if you don't acquire right-of-way and do certain things, then you'd be ineligible for federal
Right.
funds. So there's certain stipulations.
I've been on this particular bridge, I've been at the plan in hand.
Okay.
And then it just fell off.
Yeah, I do not see it in the CERT 5-year plan currently.
So, how much right of way's out there that we need to, do you remember? You and
It's,
Mike
it's not
started, I
much,
think.
it's not much. It's over on that northeast side, which Luther Road comes out there, so we already have some right of way, which would be Luther, so it's not very much. And if I remember right, it wasn't gonna be a problem. That landowner just waiting on paperwork. That's my memory.
I mean, you know, there might be an opportunity for them to donate it. So. If
Well-
nothing else, we can use CPRI. So.
No, I don't want to interrupt his
Yeah.
presentation, but I did go to work last week on Luther Road, which is on the CERT plan, and I got it updated as much as I could get it updated. The engineers hadn't heard anything in a couple of years either, but they scurried, and I don't know if y'all got the email from ODOT, but it's in the pile. Now, how it
Yeah.
rank, who knows? But
And see, Mark's talking about, I sent out an email where the statewide board and ODOT were partnering on writing grants. With the new federal highway bill, there's just as much money for grants for bridges and roads. So the statewide board's partnering, putting up $200,000, ODOT's putting up $200,000, and we're going through the CERT plan, which you have very few projects on, and updating the information and looking about doing some grants on some of the CERT projects in the 5-year plan. So we're going to use part of our money and ODOT's money to hire a consultant that will do the actual application for us, and probably be looking at it over the next 4 years doing this. So we're meeting week after next, the statewide board. We're selecting the projects. That's why I asked Mark to update the information so we have the most current available, and Garver is the consultant firm that ODOT and the statewide board has selected to pull the whole grant writing scheme together, and then the statewide board will select the projects, and in the spring and summer will be when the grants we think will be opened up to apply for. Again, it's like the lottery, there's no guarantees, but if we can get a grant and additional federal funds, that could free up additional SERB money we have attached to these projects. In other words, bring more projects into the 5-year
So
plan.
there is a guarantee. If we
Yeah.
don't get busy,
Yeah.
if we don't get busy putting projects on this 5-year plan, guarantee we won't get anything.
That is a fair statement. State and local funds, REAP, you see there, you've gotten REAP through different entities. District 1, or 2 and 3 have gotten funding through REAP, and that's continues. So you've been very active with that. The solid waste program, you see Logan, District 2 and 3 legal dump awards in 2023. We already talked about the county equipment, lake access. We already talked about the Crescent received funding on those Monroe, Meridian, and Washington city streets. That's not going away, so keep looking at those activities for next year's. SERB funding, you've spent in this county about $22 million. There's 9 counties in ODOT District 4, and you've spent more than 2/3 of the other counties. So you've done well. There's 6 other counties that have spent less in SERB funding. Luther Road, no updated plans, don't know where we're at with that per se, and then the Waterloo projects. Those are the only 2 Logan County SERB projects in the 5-year plan. Nothing else that I show. So that's something to really take a look at. ETR funds, we kind of talked about, and then kind of Logan County funds. In FY 2022, you got just under 4.8 million. The funding coming from the SERB fund, about 580,000, and then the CBR was about 391,000. Looking at this year's apportionments, gasoline's kind of seems to be higher than last year, diesel's a little lower, MV fees a little bit lower. I do question, look at your July 2022, it was 1/5 of what it should be, and I don't know why. Looking at last year's apportionment, in your motor vehicle collection tax, I looked on the tax commission's website and showed that for that month, it was 1/5 of what the average, and I can't understand why that would be on July, your normal apportionments.
We have questioned the tax commission about some of that, and they just never have an answer for us.
I'll if you would like, I could reach out to them, my contacts, and see if they can get a response back, but I don't know why that month, that 1 month, the beginning, well, it's actually the collection, that's the distribution, that would be the end. We're not reaching any caps. We might be reaching a cap, that's why it was. It was at 2015 levels.
Yeah, the motor
That's why
vehicle
we're
fees.
reaching that. That's why it was so low. July distribution is June collections, so that's why we're capped. And we're trying, that's one of our legislative items. We're trying to, we have a bill, it will probably be an appropriation bill in May to remove the cap. That would generate about 7.7 million more into the county's county highway fund, but that's what it is. It's a cap that was placed in 2015. It's capping the motor vehicle collection tax going into your county highway fund at those 2015 levels. So finally, we've hit that. It's taken this many years to finally get to those caps, and that's why your July amount was so low. Is because your June, the very end of the fiscal year, June collections, it hit that cap. That's what it
What's
is.
the odds that the state will go back to the drawing boards on this formula that's set in statute? A pet peeve of mine is I get east of Indian Meridian, we have Iowa tribe. Everything west of Indian Meridian, there is no way those citizens can ever recoup any of the money that goes to the tribe, since the tribes get their share right off the top. And if we ever get the legislature to crack into this formula, I think that ought to be taken into consideration, because there's several counties that have no tribal lands. In District 3 and District 1, we have no tribal lands.
Of course, the tribal funding, the compacts, or, you know, you've heard all that discussion, that's pretty well set in stone. That money's gonna be coming off the top of the gasoline, the fuel taxes regardless. and even the motor vehicle fees to some extent. So that will not change. If you're asking about the formulas, how the counties are divided up, that's a big discussion because you'd have winners and losers, and that would have to be something discussed at the ACO level through their legislative committee. Again, gross production taxes up, crazy up, very high right now. Gas and on oil, your collection so far about 10% higher than last year, averaging, which is a good thing. Of course, cost exploded, so that
Price is just 20%.
yeah, correct. The next last bullet there, your sales tax. That's something we kind of talked about briefly. That's coming due 2025. Your 3/4 of sales tax needs to go back to the vote of the people if you choose. 25 cents of that, or a third of it, goes to roads. Generated over 1.1 million. So if there's anything we can do, ACO or myself, to help promote that, when you go around to visit with Lions Club, Rotary Club, talk about funding, people think property taxes and fund roads, and we could put the PowerPoint or the slides together. I do it all the time. Even I would be happy to present. To start laying the groundwork, I don't know how, maybe you were very successful here a few years ago. You use that same methodology to hopefully get it renewed. It's not a new tax, you're just renewing it, but it still will have to go to the vote of the people.
I'm not much on property taxes myself.
Well, property taxes, for the most part, are allowed to go on roads, but most counties can't afford that. It usually stays, I look at my property tax statement in Oklahoma County, about 11% of my property tax goes to the courthouse, to fund the courthouse. About 78% goes to some sort of education.
Right.
And that's the kind of trouble, you're the tax collector for the schools. And people don't understand, well, most of it goes on up, or it goes over to the school system, VOTEX, higher ed, public education.
So one of the oil field roads was talking about Crescent. How come the counties can't get funded to do that?
Because that's not the way the bill was written.
Well, we need to rewrite that.
Well, that's a brand new bill. And so he was looking at a lot of these roads, especially if they're under 2,500, part of your system. So you look at any community is incorporated, and if they have any kind of oil field damage, they can apply. This last document here is all your bridges. I put that together. The orange are deficient bridges that are within ACOG area, the transportation management area, and then the Iowa tribe, you'll see the green. The green are the adequate bridges, and then yellow, there are the deficient bridges within the Iowa tribe. Again, not every one of these are going to be on their system, but it's something to have a discussion about.
And what did you say, how many bridges in Logan County?
199.
Well, 100 of them's in my district.
Yes, you have
I
quite a
don't get
bit.
any called funding.
Correct. And that's something I try to brainstorm. What can we get? What other funding sources? And it's difficult. Grants. Grant County got a bridge bundling project. They got 27 bridges bundled together, and then they use CERB money to match. 27 bridges go a long way. It was spread out fairly evenly between the different districts, but they used to be, 10 years ago, they were #1 in the state, deficient bridges, but they also had, 400 bridges countywide. They're not even in the top 10 anymore. So, to get grants and things like that, you have to kind of put money out there to get them in the plan, to submit them, but, if you don't try or part of the plan, then you're not going to be able to get them funded.
And that's why our boards essentially have kind of tasked Randy and his board and us with going after those bigger grants, because all the counties could apply individually, but it's going to cost you $40,000 to $50,000 just to apply for a grant. So we brought it into into our building and trying to apply for multiple grants at once, and ODOT even willing to throw in half the fee to help pay, for that, just the application process. But there's no guarantee, but at least we got a chance. And if we land one of those, that'll take a lot of projects off the SERB plan. That's going to be able to move other projects up.
And there's nothing wrong with, like, all the bridges in District 3 partnering with Kingfisher County or Noble County to basically improve a watershed if the commissioners were willing to on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's even a couple counties that are applying individually for some of those stuff, those grants, and they can do that. But I'll also say, like we're talking about the cities on the gross production, getting that fund to help there. Well, a couple of years before that the cities ran a bill to take some of the gross production the county gets, a share of that, into the cities to help with that, which we defeated at the Capitol. But then they went to Plan B and created this fund, kind of, because like I said, we weren't in favor of losing less funding. I mean, it just kind of, there's only so much in the pie, and you just cut smaller pieces at that point. So they did go and find a separate pot with, I think, the help of ODOT to fund that program. So,
Well, that's smart.
I mean, I would get, if I was saying, it'd drive me crazy because there's all these little pots and they're all stipulations to everything. But as I say, each new, commissioner's training event, you got to be engaged to know what's available out there, or you're going to be losing out for your county.
yeah. And if you have questions like that tax commission, you need to call us. I mean, Randy's got people there that he's going to get an answer from.
Well, I totally forgot we hit the cap. That's why
So
the June collections.
stuff like that, call us.
In July, so.
That's our job, is to get those answers for you. So don't be afraid to call us.
So the June collections would be down statewide.
Yeah, statewide. Every county saw that. I got the calls going. I forgot. I got the calls in July going, where did because some counties, your MV fees are about a third of your highway fund. And the caps were hit, and they were asking what happened. And it's because we've hit those caps in the SERB program and the House Bill 2892 or whatever it is.
Yes.
We hit that cap and also this other cap from 2015 levels, and it's just a perfect storm right during construction season and when you need it most. But like I said, we're trying to run some legislation to address the one. And then the SERB fund itself, we did get legislation passed last year where it's increasing $5 million per year, which you're getting 25% of that back to your county highway fund.
Right.
So we're going to get that from 120 million to 150 million here in a couple
over
years.
time.
So it'll be at 130 million coming up this next year.
Now,
That certainly helps.
we did back whenever they took that away from ODOT and gave it to the counties, we did keep that pot of money separate. It didn't, I know some counties put it into their M&O, and Logan County chose not to.
I think even the auditor was asking to have that as a separate account.
I think you're talking two separate things, Mark.
Maybe.
You're talking CBRI.
Mm-hmm.
What he's talking about is that what they labeled SERB MB. So that was a couple of years ago,
That's
that
new.
a portion of what went into the CBRI was directed directly to the counties. I forget the percentage that goes
25%.
to that, 25. It is in as a fund, it is in the 1102 highway fund, but it's in a separate account. It's the auditor's request that it be done that way. It's set up, it's labeled SERB-MV. So that's different than the CBRI, which is what you were talking about. The one advantage with the SERB-MV, yes, the percentage was 25, but when they passed that bill, they passed it without a sunset. So it goes until it is purposely undone.
Yeah, so the 120 million cap, 30 was going in to the county's M&O statewide, and now with us increasing that 5 million to get to 150, it'll still be 20. It's 25% of what that goes to 200 million. 25% goes to M&O. So.
And that money can actually be used for anything, even though it's coded as an M&O. The way the auditors set it up for tracking purposes was that we can transfer. So if you needed to make a salary or an equipment purchase or something, we can do a transfer interfund out of that SERB-MV into whichever one.
So don't forget the flash drives are there if you want them. If you don't, that's fine too. They'll go back.
Randy, I appreciate y'all's
Well,
time.
thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks for having me.
And ODOT wasn't going to be able to make it, even though I invited them.
Guys, thank you. Appreciate it. Y'all got any questions on that?
Well, I've got about 1,000 of them,
I understand. All right, moving on. Item 7, consideration of possible action on the letter seeking Logan County membership to Circuit Engineering District 5.
but that's the letter that we came up with.
Yeah, I sent it out.
Right, yeah, I've read the letter. I don't have an issue with it at all.
I move that we sign that letter asking to rejoin the Circuit Engineering District 5.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries.
I just need to email that to Derry or to,
Randy?
You can email it to me, and I can forward it
Okay.
on.
okay.
Item 8, consideration and possible action on a resolution approving Logan County hazard mitigation plan. Stephen, you want to get up and give a big speech on this?
Yeah. So, we were due for our 5-year update on the hazard mitigation plan after the state reviewed it, made some corrections, sent to FEMA, had 2 little corrections to make, and it's finally been approved through FEMA for the Logan County hazard mitigation plan, where it covers the county, Guthrie, Coyle, Langston, Crescent. And so, what that'll cover is any hazard mitigation projects. So we can, FEMA pay 75 and then we pay 25 on any hazard mitigation projects that are in the plan. So,
All right, I appreciate your work on
yep, thank you.
Need a motion to approve?
it. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll wait for Troy to be here to record it. I'll second it.
Oh, there she is. Troy on item 8. Mr. Ellis made a motion. Sharpen second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Item 9, consideration of possible action amendment to food service agreement with Tiger Correction Service to price adjust inmate per meal cost by 8.5%. Good Lord. I guess that's better than 20. What's up, Troy? You got anything on this?
No, we just asked that we get this signed so that get us to the end of the year. There was actually a clerical error that was found that they were still serving us at 2019 pricing, and that's why it's, the jump is at 8.5 versus gradual jump from 2021 and 20, 21, and 22.
You know off the top of your head what it is per inmate, per meal?
I don't have the exact figures. I could estimate it.
Hey, it's on the second page.
That's just on that page.
I got it, man. Never mind. So it's $1.53.
Yeah, it's broken down by how many meals they serve.
So, yeah, so from 10 to 149, it's $1.53. From 150 to 500, it's $1.33.
Yes, there's actually 2 things that are in motion for next fiscal year. They're wanting to break those down into categories of 50, so it's count per inmate from 1 to 150, or 1 to 50, and 50 to 100, 100 to 150 versus there's only 2 breakdowns right now. And the secondary option is looking at other vendors for next fiscal year.
About how many do we average a day? Do you know that?
Inmate population
Yes.
is about 165 to 170.
That's crazy.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. I guess we got a feeling. Item 10, consideration of possible action on ingress and egress agreement with Mike Connell to enter his property at Midwest Boulevard and County Road 75 to clean and smooth right away. This is yours, Cody?
Yes.
I actually spoke to him. I told him he's no longer District 3, he'd have to visit with you, so.
Yeah, this is right up there, just right up the road from the shop, so.
Yeah, I guess you're gonna clean the trees out and off the
Yeah.
right of way and pile them. I'll move that we approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Item 11, consideration and possible action on claims to the state of Oklahoma for reimbursement of 2022 veterans exemptions.
So, each year, through the assessor's office, we can submit to the state to be reimbursed for the amount of taxes that we didn't receive due to the veterans exemptions. This year's the request is $262,646. We make the request, we just never get it.
Well, that's handy.
Did they take you out of transportation?
So just the chairman's on this.
Yes, just the chairman on that.
I'll move.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll look at that. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 12, consideration and possible action on a resolution accepting donation of approximately 225 tons of asphalt millings from Levi Lee to District 1 to be used on Charter Road west of Meridian.
This gentleman got a hold of me and he would like to put millings out on the county road on Charter Road west of Meridian, and I told him I didn't see a problem in it. I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
The county will spread it.
Sure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, consideration of possible action on resolution accepting $265 donation from Bob and Cozine Womack to District 2 for approximately 23 tons of gravel for Potawatomi Road. I will move, we approve.
I will second. This is a continuation. They did this last month, and they saw that we were upholding our word to match what they were donating, so they're going to continue to do so, and hopes to get that road in a little bit better shape than what it has been.
We certainly appreciate them making donations.
Yes, we do.
Kindness. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. 14, consideration of possible action on resolution accepting $3,967.50 donation from Merritt Hollow LLC to District 2 for approximately 345 tons of gravel for Potawatomi Road.
Again, this is in addition to the Womacks. They're continuing some of it from last month also.
Are you done matching this as well?
Yes.
Good deal.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. 15, consideration and possible action on detention transportation claims. One of them is $1,414.35. The other is $720.38.
So Kathy McNally, who is with the juvenile justice, reached out to me. The claim that was submitted, presented and approved for the September travel they discovered that there was an error in their spreadsheet, and it was not, it didn't put enough money, they actually owed us more. So what the state has done is basically this one for September for 1414 resends the one that was in error and corrects it to the 1414, and then we have December.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Thank you, Troy, for explaining that. Item 16, consideration of possible action on corrected certificate of authority to establish Hudson Private Cemetery.
So we did these back at the end of December. While I was trying to finalize the 2 private cemeteries we did, I realized that I had made an error in the certificate of authority and the legal description of the one when I was putting it together for the Hudson Private Cemetery. So this is to correct the legal description for Hudson Private Cemetery, and we'll be able to refile it in the land records as a correction.
You made a mistake.
I did. It happens.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll
Correct.
second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion carries.
I have nothing for 17 and 18.
19, consideration and possible action on permanent road crossing permits.
And this is in District 1 for oil and gas lines for O'Brien.
Have you let this done work?
I had, and I talked to Mr. O'Brien.
You good with it?
I am.
I'll move we approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Y'all ready? Consideration of possible action on consent agenda items.
We have no transfers of either kind. These are cash funds.
And on the veterans, does the county not get it because we don't qualify, even though we turned it in?
Well, we have a couple of things we submit to the state every year for reimbursement, and we never get it because the state says they don't have it.
And then, just to make clear, they don't give you your full loss, they only give you
The
a
first
quarter of your loss. Do we still have a functional drug court?
Yes, we do. Springs Road District, they got $350.
Oak Springs.
Green Oaks is gonna get $10.94.
Have to have quite a few homes for that to pay off.
Or are you gonna do it $10? How long's that been on the books, you know?
Which one?
Evergreen.
Oak Springs, Sherwood Lane, and Evergreen have been quite a while, and though it took them a long time, they have within the last 10 years each done a little project. The one that will never see a project is Spring Ridge. It has been collecting since, I believe it was 2011, and still has less than $10,000 in their account.
They just got $73.47 right there.
You don't want to get me started when I think of those road improvement districts.
Why do we have two of them for Evergreen Hills?
Pardon me?
Why do we have two of them for Evergreen Hills?
Because the apportionment, when the treasurer's office runs the apportionment, which sends out the money, she does it the middle of the month and the end of the month, so there was collections for each half. Randy in his presentation mentioned CBRI taking a jump. When I worked those up, it really did take a big jump this month.
Well, I'll see what I can do to get some projects going and on the shelf for you. How's that?
Good.
But Mark was right, we did select to use our CBR funds different than a lot of counties. I mean, we put it back just so we can do any engineering or,
Match money.
match money. We use it a lot more for match than anything else.
I mean, it made sense for some counties that, you know, if you have a bridge, take it out, put a tank car. It might, you know, make, like I said, make sense for some, but you gotta worry about drift. And then, of course, the water flow, whether or not it would have the capacity. We've seen counties that put in tank cars because that's the cheapest thing, of course, you can do to get it back open, but then you have an ice storm or something like that, and you have all that debris, and it plugs it up and blows it out.
Right, yeah.
Well, I like that idea of going across different political boundary lines. That allows more people to come to the ribbon cutting contest.
Yeah, and that's one thing with the tribe is that, you know, you can offer them, you know, we do a ribbon cutting, we'll put it in a newsletter, any type of thing, make it an event, give them the PR. We can help you with that and to maybe help incentivize them to look at maybe participating.
My memory is the tribe owns, I don't think it's a quarter section, but right there at Charter Oak and Luther Road, they actually own one corner there.
But we still gotta figure out Monty's area. What we do
It's
keeps
tough
growing.
right there,
And,
Randy.
yeah, it's tough.
That concludes consent.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item 21, any citizens are to be heard? Hearing none. Item 22, comments, announcements, questions by the Board of County Commissioners or any other department head. Troy, got anything from the SO?
Everything's going good.
Stephen?
Nothing, thanks for the resolution on the hazard mitigation plan.
Yeah, thanks for working on it, I appreciate it.
That's, one of the things that I started on was, you know, we talked last meeting about the generators and stuff
Right.
for the courthouse, and I did have one guy come out, so.
Awesome. Zach, you want to throw anything in?
No.
No. Mark?
I've given my update as we went along.
Cody, you got anything?
Nothing as of yet.
Troy?
No.
All only thing I got here is the numbers that I guess Damon provided to Troy on the traffic through the courthouse. In an 8-month period, it's a little over 10,000 people went through the metal detector. I was kind of shocked that many folks went through there. But he's got it broke down by the month, by the day. Pretty neat little reports. I appreciate y'all working on that.
There was a jury call today, so it went up a few more
Yeah.
numbers.
All righty, item 23, adjournment.
I'll move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned.